bought this Casio WK3200 a few weeks ago for a friend's daughter at church. I won it in an auction for only 65 bucks, but yet it sounds as good as pro instruments. The first thing I notice is how light it is. Although it has 76 keys, it's less than half the weight of my Yamaha EX5. It's not fun to carry the blue beast down a flight of stairs. A few years ago, I got a WK1250, which is a nice keyboard with some synth editing features. But the WK50's sample quality is not nearly as good as the 3200s. Since there is no videos comparing the two models of Casio's WK line, I'll compare similar sounds and features of the two keyboards. Casios are often the first keyboard a person may own. It troubles me to see children glued to cell phones. The name Off the Matrix actually reflects an aim of breaking away from the system of the hoax. I was inspired by the movies. I think a keyboard would be a great gift, a tool to wean a young person off the techno system. Now I'm at the back of the Casio keyboards. One of the first things that I check on a keyboard is if it has MIDI jacks. Both the WK1250 and the 3200 have MIDI in and out jacks. That's important if you want to connect a synth module or a drum machine. The WK3200 came out in 2005. It and the 3700 were the last models to have the MIDI jacks. The WK33 and the 3800 that came out in 2006 only have a USB jack, which makes it impossible to sync them with a drum machine. The USB won't work unless you have the right drivers, so avoid the new models. The only audio output of both keyboards is a headphone jack, but the 3200 has a better design with a jack in front of the keyboard. I recommend listening through good headphones or a speaker, because if you listen through a cell phone, you won't be able to hear the better quality of the 3200 samples. I can hear in my headphones that the 3200 has stereo samples with more samples in the key maps. The 1250's piano samples suffer from molasing. It's too grainy. I would not use it for a recording. The 3200 has a drawbar organ that's independent of the synth patches. Press this button and you're in organ mode. These buttons control the drawbar settings, and I programmed it to sound like the famous house organ on the M1. Yeah, I noticed the tone on the 3200 is a little duller than the samples on the 1250. The 3200 has filters with resonance, so it makes a big difference when you're trying to make a nice fat bass sound. The 1250 doesn't have filters, and I'm not really happy with the bass patches. The 1250 has some samples that the 3200 doesn't have, like the Fairlight Ah that Tears for Fears used for shout. Both have synth editing features. Let's see. Gotta find a pad. But the 1250 is nice because it allows you to alter the envelopes and pitch settings for two different oscillators. This is the first oscillator, and then there's a second oscillator. On the 3200, any envelope settings you make control both oscillators. So, and it has templates. So this is amp setting is a template for a 4-stage envelope that you can select, which is a slow, this is for a slow pad. But if I bring it down to another envelope template, it makes it gives it a faster attack. So this offers more control in the way of controlling each oscillator. What's really great on the 1250 is you can change the waveforms that are assigned to the two oscillators. So now I have a pad, but I can change the first oscillator to something different. Like something like. So you have much more control with this instrument than with the 3200, because on the 3200, the two oscillators, the waveforms assigned to the two oscillators are fixed. You can also set the pan for the two oscillators independently for a stereo image, which is great. And plus, you can have a different velocity touch sensitivity for the two layers. So one layer, like on an electric piano, could be a soft tone, and then you could have it a brighter tone when you hit it harder. Now I'll play a rock pattern from each instrument so you can hear the difference in the samples. The 1250's samples aren't that bad, but it just sounds like a drum machine. But I was really impressed with the 3200 because it practically sounds like a live drummer to me. I have the 3200 connected to my Behringer RD8. It can be controlled with an external drum machine. And what's great is it has some classic drum samples, like the Tero 909 samples, in the 3200, that is. And there's actually, I think, like 15 kits. There's a hip-hop kit. I'll end by showing the mixer page. You can flip through the channels to see which voices that are assigned. And what's really important is you can control the effect sends. So if you want something more dry, say for the drums, and then you want, say, a pad to have a lot of effects, you can do that. I can set that up high. You can make a great mix with this instrument because vintage synths like, say, the Korg M1, the effects were applied to everything in a multi-timbral setup. The limitations of the effects routings on the Korg M1 made it difficult to make a multi-track mix. So when I started making the mix for my demo song on the Casio 3200, it was like a red pill experience that, you know, you could buy a synth like this for only 65 bucks. And there's a lot of things I see on eBay where these cards for the M1 are selling for $200. And the samples in one of those cards, it doesn't even compare to the quality of the samples in this machine. So I make reviews like this to really make awareness of things that are out there that you wouldn't expect, you know, a Casio to sound this good. So until next time, take care.